you're into your final year, and while most students are still figuring things out, these 5 things are for the ones who actually want to get ahead. The first thing I want to talk to you about is your mindset. Most students fall into a trap of putting things off, telling themselves that they'll start next week, and then they end up cramming their revision into a few stressful days before the exams. But here's the truth. If you want to genuinely improve, or if you're aiming for the top grades, you need to be active and intentional from week 1. You don't want to be the person on results day wishing that you started earlier. You may even feel nervous or scared about this final year, but the best way to beat that fear is to work consistently. Just 2 to 3 focused hours a week, every single week, adds up massively. And I also want you to think about what goals you have for this year. Having this in your mind or writing it down will motivate you throughout the year. So the first part was about your mindset. Now let's talk about something just as important, having systems in place. The first aspect of this is how you will organize your revision. For example, I made my notes directly inside these booklets, but maybe you prefer using folders or digital notes or creating online flashcards. Another thing that will help is understanding how each subject is structured. Every subject has a specification, a breakdown of all the content you're expected to know for exams, and use it to guide how you organize your revision material. Then there's also time management. Knowing what to study is one thing, but actually making the time for it is another. I found that writing things down in a planner, calendar, or even a to-do list makes me far more likely to follow through. Use it to block out time for homework, revision, or even to track upcoming deadlines. The next thing is to have a weekly plan. At the start of the year, your focus will mainly be on keeping up with classwork and homework, but it's also the perfect time to start building your revision resources, like flashcards, notes, mind maps. The weekend is usually the best time to do this. The focus should slowly shift towards revision and memory building, and that's where spaced repetition comes in. This is a technique where you review information at increasing intervals, helping it stick in your long-term memory. It is much more effective than rereading or cramming. Some great things to do for this are things like Anki, a flashcard app that's built around spaced repetition, PMT flashcards. You can go over these flashcards a couple months after you've learned the topic to see how much you know. And then you can also use blurting. Again, a few months after you've learned something, write down everything you can remember on a topic from memory, then check it against your notes to see what you're missing. And something for you to consider during the school week is being present in lessons. This year is harder. It builds directly on last year's content, and things get more complicated. But when you ask questions, as soon as something confuses you, you clear up those gaps immediately, and that builds a much stronger understanding. And that understanding, that's what helps you apply your knowledge in the exam, and that's how you get more marks. And by the way, I'm Soumya, and if you have any study related questions, I'll be in the comments and I'll get back to you quite quickly. So we have mindset, having systems, and also thinking about a weekly plan for school. Now let's build on that by talking about your revision routine. I revised consistently throughout year 11 and year 13, and looking back, my revision routine worked in 3 main levels. The first level for me was creating revision material. This was the foundation of my revision. Every week, I'd look back on what I've been taught in class, and I'd create notes based on that. To make these notes, I used websites and summary sheets, and writing things out helped me process and understand the content. But use whatever method helps you engage with the material. What's important is timing. Try to make your revision material within a week of learning the content. The quicker you revisit what you've learned, the more likely it is to stick. The second level was preparing for end of topic tests. This was my chance to reinforce and check my understanding. This is where I began using practice questions, so I could clearly see what I remembered and what I didn't. And that meant I could focus on just the areas I was struggling with. If there were things I still didn't understand, I'd use YouTube videos to fill in those gaps. And a really important bonus tip here, when you get your test back, don't just glance at the mark. Go through every mistake. Ask yourself, why did I get this wrong? And add those insights to your notes. That's where real improvement comes from. Learning from your past answers so you can do better next time. And the third level of my revision routine was for mocks and the final exams. At this stage, the main focus was past papers. They help you practice applying what you've learned, get used to the question styles, and improve your exam technique and timing. As I went through these papers, I would track the topics I was struggling with, and then go back to those specific areas using videos and more practice questions. By having this 3-level system, it helped me stay consistent, stay focused, and ultimately feel more confident walking into my exams. And now that we've covered all these things, I want to tell you about what most students get wrong in this final year. The main thing is cramming very late. If you start revising earlier and consistently throughout the year, just a few hours a week, you'll not only reduce your stress for mocks and final exams, but you'll also give yourself space to improve. While others are panicking, you'll be ahead, using the time that they're starting to prepare to practice more past papers and focus on weaker topics. Another mistake students make is not using the mark scheme when it comes to questions and papers. After answering a question, spend time looking over each point in the mark scheme. You should have the mentality of what can I learn so I do better next time. I made notes of the mark scheme or added onto my old notes to consolidate the mark scheme. scheme. Another similar thing is not using past paper walkthroughs or model answers on YouTube, because these videos show you exactly how to approach the question and structure your answer, what kind of language examiners are looking for, and how high-grade students think through the question. And the final mistake is not studying effectively. If rereading or rewriting your notes works for you, then keep doing that, but please also incorporate practice questions. An exam is all about answering questions, so what better way to prepare for a paper than past paper questions? And a lot of students do not know how to go over past papers properly, but I have a 6-step framework which can help you in this video here.